Welcome back to DAGryffyn Hobby. My name's Dave. In this video, we're going to take a look at how to make some very easy, very cheap fences and gates. The inspiration for this project was I was driving back from North Carolina and just looking at stuff along the side of the road, and there were a couple of metal gates that I thought, that might be a nice addition on the train layout. So when I got home, I was thinking, how could I make something kind of rural and homemade looking, something that maybe was welded on site? How could I do that? I remembered that my daughter was using some metal wire to support some of her clay sculptures. So I asked her about that wire, if there was some I could borrow. My first attempt, and I made this little gate and this single rail fence that goes around this property that will go under the arch under bridge. Now this was a very basic project. All I used to do it was this stem wire and stick matches. This is stem wire from a craft store for floral arrangement, I believe. I wanted something that was easy enough to shape, but stiff enough that it would hold its shape when I was done. I'm going to do, I think, a slightly different style gate, and I'll show you how I did it. And I am just winging this, so if it doesn't turn out perfect, I don't know what to tell you. If you want, you could use a scale to actually get, appropriate lengths and everything like that, but I'm not that good at this process yet, so I'm just going to make something and we'll see how it goes. One thing you want to try to do, though, is keep your bends on the same plane so that this one's flat and this one's sticking up. So you want to try to keep them all on the same plane or close enough that you can twist them to be the right shape. Now for this gate, I want one side to be taller than the other. This is too big, but maybe I'll just keep going anyway. I'm just bending the wire to try to get a basic shape. And then I'll cut the excess. Now a good step would probably be to smooth out these ends because both of them are kind of cut on an angle. I guess you could file that down if you wanted, bypass that for the moment, but I am going to try to bend this back and forth just so that they line up properly. I'll warm up my soldering iron, scratch some bug bites, and get out the rosin paste flux. I've never really used flux, I think once or twice, but I understand it's really supposed to help when you solder things, help the solder go where you want it to go. So I'm going to put a little bit on the ends here and hope that assists in actually soldering these two ends together. You may note that this looks like it's off the back of my self-feeding soldering iron, and you would be right. The reason why it's not attached anymore is because it just kind of fell apart. And now I'm back to using my good old-fashioned Weller soldering iron. Okay, perfect? No, but it's holding the shape. So now that I have this basic shape, which is a little warm to the touch, we can add some cross pieces. You can go straight up and down. You can go across the length. I think maybe I'll do that. Give it a try, see how it goes. So I'll stick each end in the flux. I could be using the flux wrong. I'll be perfectly honest. I don't know what I'm doing. Sort of get it lined up, see if this works. Keep in mind that the wire does get quite warm, so maybe don't push on it with your finger. If I had a picture that I was working off of, that would probably make things a little easier. Well, since this is kind of just freelance, I'm going to add some additional supports in here. I really didn't think this through. I just kind of started building. I'm using a pair of Xuron rail nippers, which I have totally abused over the last 20 years, trying to snip all sorts of things that I probably shouldn't have, and I've messed it up quite a bit. So I don't know if I'll try to maybe grind that down and sharpen it, or I should probably just buy a new pair and then use it properly. Having the right tool is nice, and using it properly is also nice. I can't lie, this is not some of my finest work here. I'm going to add one more support, and then we'll call it done for now. So, I mean, it takes practice. You have to get good at soldering this sort of thing. You probably need to use the right materials and all that. I don't know that I'm using the right materials, but I was able to build the fence for that other section. Now, there were a couple different ways that I was thinking of hinging the fence, and the way I did it on the other one, I'm not a huge fan of. I took some of the wire and I bent it pretty messily around the body of the fence here, and then I just bent the other end around one of the wood stakes. And it's just a little bulky and doesn't look that great. But that was the first time I tried it also, so give me a break. We might as well use this former piece of my layout that's been cut off from somewhere. And for the posts, I'm just using these matches and cutting off the tips. So how do I get that gate attached to that post? Well, I use this little 1/16 drill bit. And initially I tried drilling it by hand, but that wasn't working. But really a Dremel would be fantastic for this. I can't find my Dremel, so I'm using my full-size drill, which is major overkill. So I will just very gently, hopefully, drill through this matchstick. And it slid to the side. Didn't work. I believe what I was doing was I used this file, just kind of used it kind of like a punch to put a little divot where I wanted to put the hole, and then tried to drill it straight through the stick. And that split this one. So not having great luck so far. So let's try again with another stick. And you want to let the bit do the work, don't press it. So that's not bad. So I need another hole. Just pick a spot. There we go. We got 2 holes in that fence post. So the wire then fits right in. But what I need to do is turn it into some sort of a hinge. So I need to bend it around this end of the gate and then leave an end straight so I can put it through the post. So if I had specialty tools with smaller, bends, I could probably do this a little better, but I'm just gonna grab this end and twist it around this pair of needle nose pliers here. And that gives you this little loop. Try to flatten it out. Okay, it gives me a loop, but it's closed. I don't have the gate in there. So now I gotta try to open it back up. And I had a lot of trouble with that before, but that went just fine. So then I will put it there and then try to squeeze it without hurting myself or damaging the gate. Okay, so now I've kind of closed it around the gate, and I'm just going to snip off the length of it. And now I need to try to do that again and make it somewhat similar. Try to get it to be as close as possible to that shape. Okay, twisted it, make sure it's flat, try to open it back up again. And it just has to be open enough to get it around the post. Now make sure you put it on the same way and not the other direction. And then try to squeeze it closed. And again, I'll just cut off a length. When you're cutting this wire, just be careful, especially if you're cutting a very small piece off. You don't want it to go flying and hit something or somebody or poke you in the eye. So wear glasses, preferably safety glasses. I'll just put those through. Not perfect, but I'm not trying to get perfect either. I mean, I am kind of going for a dilapidated look. So if it's not perfect, it really doesn't matter. I'm going to try something else, and I'm going to try to open this up a little, even though I just squeezed it closed again. So what I'm going to do is install it into the fence post. We'll do the top one first. And I'll push it in as far as it goes. Snip off the end. And put some crazy glue on it. And we'll let that sit for a second. If I were to do this particular one over, I think I would space out these holes for the hinges. Try to get one closer to the top and one closer to the bottom. Okay, I got glue on both sides of that, and probably on my fingers. I'll let that sit for a minute. That second hinge, that lower hinge, should really be down here somewhere. But then again, this whole gate's kind of oversized. Oh, and look, I broke it. So then to place it, just kind of decide where I want it, poke a hole in the foam, and stick the matchstick into it. And there, you got a gate. A great gate? No. But you know what? Get the job done. So now I'll just poke a hole for the fence post on the other side. And I really don't care if the fence posts are straight or anything. I kind of prefer they're not. So to make the fence, I am going to use my scale and go 6 feet. And for this one, unlike the other one, I think I'm gonna try to do 2 fence rails. See if I can drill those holes without splitting the sticks. Okay, I have 2 posts with 2 holes. I need 2 holes in this first post, so I'll just match those up and drill another hole. Okay, so now I have 3 posts, and each post has 2 holes. So I know where the posts are going because I measured those out. So then I want to bend the wire. So I'll lay it down over those holes. I'm going to grab the wire just before this second hole and then bend it. Then I put on one of the posts, put on the second post, I'll put the lower rail through the fence posts, and then I can kind of test fit it. And because of the way that each individual one bent, one fits better than the other. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect, so I'm just going to line this up, slide that fence post to position, sit it in. I'm just kind of move these around a little bit. And I'll go back to the crazy glue and glue these ends in. And I'll try to form this, get the posts where I want them, more or less standing up straight, and I'll cut off the excess. And then glue those ends in. So now I've got the gate and the fence on one side. Now to kind of make it look a little more realistic, we're going to add some paint to it. Now you can use whatever colors you like. Dark browns and dark reds and stuff like that I think work pretty well. You don't need a lot. You can throw some beige in there. It's actually golden brown. Throw some chestnut. I think I used other colors, but I don't know where they are at the moment. So I want to paint the wood. I'm going to take mostly brown. This paintbrush is horrible. Obviously, I didn't clean it last time. So not only are there hairs sticking off of it, but it's pretty solid. I wouldn't worry about 100% coverage or getting a solid color, because variation is what's going to make it look a little better. Okay, we got a first coat on the posts. You can really do the metal any color you want. Well, of course you can do it any color you want, it's yours. But I'm going to start with a reddish color on the metal. And again, I wouldn't worry about 100% coverage, just enough. And maybe go into some tannish color and hit those posts again. I'm going to go back into the red and hit the fence rails again. It doesn't really matter to me if the metal shines through in spots, because I would imagine a gate like this, the paint would take a beating. Now, if I were going to be using this for some sort of part of the layout, probably continue the fence on this way and then down. But this is just a demo, and I'm pretty happy with the way that turned out. Like a lot of things, it takes practice, and it's going to take me a lot of practice to get this technique to where I want it to be, so that it not only turns out looking decent, but it's in scale and will be somewhat durable, because this gate is not going to last. This project just kind of happened. I was interested in doing something, and I had the materials, and I just started playing with it, and that's what I ended up with. And I like it. Might change it. Who knows? But I wanted to share that with you guys because I thought it was a pretty easy and cheap thing to do. I mean, what am I using here? I'm using these stem wires. I think were a couple dollars for the bag. I'm using an old box of diamond matches that I think have been in my garage for 15 years, and some $1 a bottle craft paints. So super cheap, pretty easy to do, but hard to do it well. And I think can be a lot of fun because you can make it to whatever size, shape you want or need. So drop me a note in the comments and let me know what you think of this project. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time on DAGryffyn Hobby.